A historic season with 59 home runs, crowned National League MVP, and a $325 million contract that cemented a legacy. It should be a fairy tale, right? Instead, the narrative shifts. Whispers turn to shouts about being a waste of money, an injury-prone liability, and a massive disappointment. That's the reality for Giancarlo Stanton, once one of the most dangerous and feared hitters in baseball, and now a name that sparks endless debate in Yankee circles. His career has been nothing short of a dramatic fall from grace. How did it all go south? What went wrong? Let's break it down. Giancarlo Cruz Michael Stanton. Yeah, he's got a name built for Hollywood. Was born in Panorama City, California in 1989. He grew up in Sherman Oaks, where he wasn't just some baseball nerd. This guy was a full-blown athlete. Football, beast. Basketball, dominated. Baseball, well, that's where he made his career and money. By the time he hit Notre Dame High School, everyone knew he was built differently. Schools like USC, UNLV, and UCLA wanted him for football, but baseball had other plans. The Florida Marlins snatched him up in the second round of the 2007 MLB draft. From the jump, Stanton wasn't playing around. Moonshot home runs, insane power, and a frame, 6 feet 6 inches, 245 pounds, that looked more suited for the NFL than the outfield. He was a human highlight reel before he was ever called up to the majors. Fast forward to 2010. The Marlins bring him up, and he wastes no time making an impact. At 20 years old, he was already launching balls into orbit. His first home run, 418 feet. An absolute missile. Over the next few seasons, he put up crazy numbers, making the All-Star game in 3 of his first 5 full seasons. But there was one problem. The Marlins were trash. Even as Stanton racked up 30-plus home run seasons, the team went nowhere. But it wasn't just a bad team he had to deal with. He took some brutal hits, too. In 2014, Stanton suffered one of the scariest injuries in baseball when he got drilled in the face by a fastball in Miami, fractured multiple bones, missed 17 games, and had to wear a special face guard when he came back. It was a moment fans never forgot, one of the rare times he looked vulnerable on the field. That is, until later in his career. Then came 2017, the year everything changed. 59 home runs, 132 RBIs, and an OPS over 1,000. Unreal numbers. He wasn't just hitting home runs, he was demolishing baseballs. Pitchers were terrified. The league had to take notice. He was the National League MVP and nobody questioned it. At that moment, he wasn't just a star, he was the guy. Baseball's worst kept secret? The Marlins couldn't afford him. With their payroll, there was no way they were keeping a guy like Stanton on their team. So they pulled off a 13-year, $325 million deal, making him the highest paid player in MLB history at the time. But here's the kicker. They didn't keep him. The Marlins were tanking harder than a submarine with a hole in it, and they needed out of that contract. Enter the New York Yankees. In December 2017, they made a blockbuster move, sending Starlin Castro and 2 prospects to Miami for Stanton. On paper, this was a dream. The Yankees now had Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, 2 absolute giants, in the same lineup. It looked like baseball was about to be terrifying for opposing pitchers, so how did this dream turn into a nightmare? 2018 was a strong start, but not enough. When Giancarlo Stanton put on the famous pinstripes for the first time, expectations were sky high. The Yankees had just landed the reigning National League MVP, a slugger who crushed 59 home runs the year before. The Bronx was buzzing. His first season in New York? Solid, but not spectacular. He smashed 38 home runs, drove in 100 runs, and played nearly every game. Those are great numbers for most players, but this was the Yankees. This was a fan base that had seen legends dominate. Good wasn't good enough. For a player making over $25 million a year, the Yankees wanted more than just solid production. They wanted record-breaking power, clutch performances, and moments that defined a season, and most importantly, World Series titles. Instead, they got a player who was very good, but not great. 2019 was when the injury spiral began. This was supposed to be the year he truly took over, but it never happened. First, a bicep strain. Not ideal, but manageable. Then a shoulder issue. Annoying, but still possible to bounce back. Then a knee injury. Suddenly, a couple of minor setbacks turned into a lost season. When it was all over, he'd played just 18 games the entire year. 18 games. For a player earning almost $30 million a season, that's not just disappointing, it's a disaster. The Yankees were paying for a superstar, but they got a permanent bench warmer instead. 2020 through 2022 was when the injury list kept growing. At this point, Stanton's stat sheet started to look less like a baseball player's resume and more like a medical file. If there was a way to get hurt, he found it. Hamstring strain? Check. Calf strain? Check. Achilles tightness? Check. Quad injury? Of course. By now, Yankees fans weren't just frustrated, they were losing hope. Every time it seemed like he was ready to bounce back, another injury knocked him out again. From 2020 to 2022, he missed over 50% of the games, and even when he was on the field, he wasn't the same player. The numbers don't lie. In his MVP year with the Marlins, Stanton had an impressive .281 batting average with elite power. But by 2023, his average had plummeted to .211. That's not just a decline, it's a collapse. What was once a feared slugger had now become a liability at the plate. What started as a dream trade for the Yankees had turned into a nightmare. Giancarlo Stanton wasn't the game-changing star they had hoped for. He was just another expensive mistake. For $325 million, the Yankees were paying him about $1 million per home run at this point. The once mighty slugger was looking more like a bad investment. But wait, just when you think it's all over, Stanton finds a pulse. In the 2024 postseason, something clicked. 4 home runs in the American League Championship Series, clutch performances, and for a brief moment, he looked like the old MVP version of himself. Could this be it? Could he finally turn the corner and prove he's still worth the money? The Yankees hope so. But let's be real, fans are running out of patience. Giancarlo's career has been a wild roller coaster. One minute, he's the king of baseball. The next, he's a walking cautionary tale about massive contracts and injury-riddled stars. What happens next? Does he make a comeback? Or will he go down as one of the biggest busts in Yankees history? Giancarlo Stanton, a legend in the making, or one of the worst contracts in baseball history? You decide.